I'm Scott.
I'm Chris. And we're Two Guys Brewing. Hey. This week we're doing another real simple recipe. Last week we used liquid malt extract. This week we're going to use simply dry malt extract, all DME. This is a dark malt, so it's going to be a little darker beer. Not stout or porter dark, but darker.
Comes in a few flavors. I've used light dry malt extract, DME. Usually just to boost my alcohol a little bit or make starter wort. It's fun stuff to work with.
No, it isn't. Don't lie.
Making a whole beer, a batch of beer out of just dry malt extract, or using that as the primary ingredient. I think this is going to be fun.
Yeah, I did it once before. It worked out well. So these are 3-pound bags. The cans we used last week were 3.3. They were slightly bigger, but there's less water in this.
Less water in this.
So they don't weigh as much.
That's why it's dry, not liquid, right?
And our hops, we're going to use just a simple U.S. Golding. We're going to use that actually as our bittering and as our aroma hops. So we're going to put one in at 60 and one in at 5 again, just for simple, easy use.
So this is like a DME smash recipe, I guess.
Yeah. Single malt,
single malt, single hops.
Very simple.
There you go.
And we're going to use another package of the dry yeast. We'll probably hydrate this one, show you how to hydrate your yeast.
Use this from Nottingham this week?
This is Nottingham. I've got some Wilson, I think it is, or something along those lines. I'm not sure which one we're going to use yet. They're both dry, so we'll figure out. Did we use the Nottingham our first week?
I don't remember what we've used actually, but I have used some Nottingham, and
the other, I think. So we'll decide that on the fly. We'll let you know later what we use. It's going to be one of the two. All right, so that's about it. Let's get brewing. We'll get some water going and
see you in a few minutes.
Yeah. This week, can they see that? I think we're using a big pot. We're done with playing around with little pots. You can do this still with a split boil, but this pot will hold. This is about a 10-gallon pot.
Close to 10 gallons.
It's close to a 10-gallon pot, so we can easily do a 5-gallon boil in here, and it just makes our lives easier, a lot easier. So.
Yeah, let's put some water in it.
Yeah.
My aluminum pot has different water level marks in it now, and I also have a stainless steel ruler where I've marked out different levels in it. And I still use a gallon pitcher a lot. The problem with a gallon pitcher is I always lose track of.
Yeah, I lose count every time.
Half gallon. Make yourself a measuring stick out of, use a stainless steel ruler or a piece of wooden dowel, it don't matter.
Just add it. Oh, I know. Did they go upstairs?
Add a gallon, add 2 gallons, mark it out with a permanent marker.
Big brew pot holds 10 gallons of water. I'm not putting 10 gallons in. And it's real easy to lose count. Real easy to lose count. I usually make hash marks on a piece of paper. And then, you dump it, you make a hash mark to fill it up, dump it, you make a hash mark to fill it up, you dump it, you fill it up, you dump it, you fill it up, and where'd my hash mark go? Easy little stainless steel ruler that I acquired from a job I used to have a few years back. And I was real careful one time. Real careful one time. Why don't you just set that on the stove? Is that getting heavy?
Yeah.
Put it on the stove. Anyways, so I marked it off in half-gallon increments, and I was real careful about measuring it and marking it, and now I don't have to be careful anymore. I just stick it in.
Put some fire under that, baby. So heat it up.
Yeah, you don't have to. Once you got a half a gallon in there, you can actually turn the heat on. Now this pot actually is so big I don't have a lid for it. But I do have this handy dandy baking sheet that you know, they use in bakeries, slides into trays. So this fits right over my pot. It's a really good cover. Just use a pot holder to take it off. That should be 5.5, right?
Yeah, it might even be 6.
For 6, you definitely want to boil.
Why we got to,
No, we're at 5.5.
Alrighty, see?
Yep, 5.5. So
Alright.
we're good. Alright, and that's going to take a little while to boil. Put a cover on it so it boils faster.
Hi, I'm Steve Spears. I'm the owner of Dunkirk Homebrew. We are a local homebrew shop here in the Dunkirk, Fredonia area, located at 3375 East Main Road, Dunkirk, New York. We are a full-line supplier of beer and wine brewing equipment and supplies. Come on down. Most of my customers become my friends. Thank you.
Now we got a few minutes to talk about making beer.
Yeah, we got some things we wanted to hit this week. First off, we actually want to talk a little bit about malt, the difference between dry malt and liquid malt.
Malt extract.
Yes, malt extracts. There's, you know, maybe 5 main kinds of malt extract that you can pick up, like pills, light, amber, dark, and wheat are the 5 majors. There's others like sorghum and rye, but they're much less common. Those are the 5 main ones that you're going to find.
Different manufacturers may call them different things.
Yeah.
We were discussing this a little while ago, and like most of the ones I use are gold. I think I've seen extra light. The gold is like a light or an amber, and it's somewhere depending on, you know, different companies, even different homebrew shops. Some of them are big enough where they have their own branded
Yeah, but say, you know,
malt extract.
if you tell them I'm looking for an amber malt extract, they're going to know which one you want.
Right.
So that's another reason why you should patronize your local homebrew store. You know, if you go online, it may not, you know, there's 30 different kinds of malt, and they all look like they have the same name.
Or if you're
Different
looking
brands.
to
What's the difference between this
do,
brand
if you're
and that
trying to
brand?
do a particular style of beer, like I want to do a pale ale, or maybe I'm taking an IPA, or well, a stout's in order this week. Well, which kind of malt extract can I use? Well, there's several choices that will work for any of those styles. And if you don't know, you're having trouble making those decisions,
Yeah.
go into your local homebrew shop. They'll steer you in the right direction. So today, what we're going to be doing is going to be pretty much, probably going to come out like an American Pale Ale, do you think?
It's going to be a little darker than that. It's definitely it's a dark malt, so but it's not going to be, you know, like a stout or a porter. It's going to be
An amber ale then?
a little darker than your
Right.
standard amber.
Maybe an American amber ale?
A little darker than
Okay.
that. But
So
yeah,
what style would that fall in?
it's a dark beer. It's going to be a dark beer.
Okay.
But it's
Well,
not
be interesting to see, guys.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
I've only used.
I've never bought all dark malt before,
Yeah.
so this is the first time for me.
I use light malt in my brewing processes. I use it to make a starter wort a lot of times for making yeast starters, which we'll cover in a later episode. I use it to boost my gravity if I was somehow I'm trying to brew all grain, and sometimes I miss my numbers and I need to up my gravity a little bit. It's
We'll
a
talk about
wonderful
that
thing to
in a
have
minute,
on
too.
hand. So there's lots of reasons that you can make a whole beer out of it all at once.
Yep.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, like I was saying, the biggest difference between a dry malt and a liquid malt is how much liquid is in the malt. Now, last week you seen us dumping that gooey, syrupy stuff in
Cans of
there.
gooey syrup.
And I'll say, it is a liquid, but it's just barely a liquid. This is dry, but I'll tell you, you stick this, open this up and hold it over your boil, and it's not dry anymore.
Oh,
It's a lumpy, gooey mess.
And as soon as moisture at all, like any kind of steam or something hits it, it wants to make cotton candy or something.
Yeah, it sticks to everything.
Yes, it gets really sticky, hard, and so when you're working with it, that can make it a little bit tricky.
Something to keep in mind. Also, when you add your liquid malt to boiling water, it's not likely to boil over. It can, but it's not likely to. This very likely will. So if you want to, with this, I would say turn the heat off when you mix it in.
Turn the heat off on both, especially when you're a beginner and you don't have much experience. I turn the heat off on the liquid because I don't want to scald it on the bottom because it's such a thick liquid, it goes right to the bottom of the thing.
Yeah.
And if you still had the heat on, there's a possible that you might start to caramelize those sugars and actually like scald them, which you don't want to do. And there's a boil over possibility too, especially if you're, you know, sometimes we brew in pretty big pots, lots of headroom, but don't.
If you're trying to do a 5-gallon boil on a 5-gallon pot, you got zero headroom.
Adding beer into a, sometimes it does, I mean, things happen really quick, like in seconds, and so, boil over's not the end of the world, just
But it does make you want to cry.
it's a mess. Yeah, it's a mess. It's, your wife will not like it.
No. Or your husband. Well, you seen Julie last week. She's like, I don't leave Harry in the kitchen alone. So, that's pretty much it with the malt extracts. And we'll get into more detail on those down the road, and you know exactly how different malt extracts are produced. Like I said, this is a dark, and if you did want to make a stout or a porter, you would probably have to add some adjunct greens to this.
Yeah, that's called partial mashing, and that's
another
very common type of kit that's out there that comes with either some liquid malt extract, some dry malt extract.
But we'll get into
Some
that a
have
little more
both.
later. But yeah, but you would want to add something with an L60 or you know maybe some chocolate or something. But this will be a little bit lighter than that. All right, and then now we did touch on specific gravity. You mentioned
specific gravity. That's how we measure like what kind of beer we're making. You know,
Yeah,
are we making light beer, regular beer, really heavy beer? You know, how much alcohol is going to end up in that beer?
Right,
We
okay.
do that by measuring what's called specific gravity.
and you take a couple
So-
of measures. The first one you take after you're
At
done
the
boiling, when you cool it down. Basically, when you get down to pitching temperature, you put a hygrometer in there, take a reading at that point. That gives you your original gravity, or OG, and that tells you how much stuff is in the beer. I mean,
Before you add your yeast.
Yeah, before you. Well,
The stuff is what we're interested in.
right, and you know that's going to be, you know, mostly your fermentable sugars. That's the biggest part of what your original gravity is. But you got other things in there, unfermentable sugars and stuff like that, and they'll boost that reading up also. So you could have two beers with the same original gravity reading. Say they're both 50. Just out of picking a number, you know, 1.050.
1.050.
All right, but one may be, you know, all 2-malt, you know, 2-row light malt extract, and the other one may have some milk sugars in there which are not fermentable. They have the same original gravity reading, but when you get to the end of the beer, one's got a much lower alcohol content than the other. And how do you figure that out?
You take another gravity reading using our hygrometer.
I'm noticing a trend here.
So how do we take these readings?
With a hygrometer?
What's a hygrometer?
It is, I'll tell you what, I'll get one out in a minute and show you. But why don't you talk about final gravity readings?
All right, so after you're done fermenting, or that's how we tell when we're done fermenting even. How do you know when you're done fermenting? You take gravity readings. And if you take gravity readings 3 days in a row, and they're the same, then you know your gravity's not dropping anymore, and you'd be pretty confident that
You're done.
all the fermentation is done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most experienced brewers don't stop at that point. We know all the fermentation's done, but we think the yeast clean up after themselves and carry on.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to leave it in there a while.
So leave it, yeah, generally we leave it in there a little longer.
But if you had a party on the 4th of July,
that's how you know when the fermentation is done. You will not get any more alcohol.
if you got a party on the 4th of July and it's June 15th, if you're done fermenting, you can bottle that and you'll have beer for the 4th. I mean,
You have
may not
time
be
to
the best
carbonate.
beer.
And,
Now this is a hygrometer. This is actually a brewing hygrometer. A little bit, that's the size of it. And that's it's got a couple of different scales on it. And this is a
Weights in the bottom, liquid wax. Don't put these in the boiling water.
no. But this one here is a little bigger. This is actually a dual-purpose hygrometer. This will work for beer or wine. Wine tends to have a higher alcohol than beer. This one will only go up to about 10% alcohol. So if you're doing a triple bock or something, it's probably not going to work for you. You're going to want something like this.
It's possible to make beers above 10%, but rare.
Yeah. Generally speaking, this is going to be fine. And they're calibrated to a certain temperature, and so you kind of got to know what that is. Usually it says on either on the hygrometer or on the box or on the paperwork. This one is calibrated at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. This one's calibrated at 60. So if I pop them both in the same, they're not going to have the same reading. And you do get
60 is most common. I have
60
seen
is most
68. I have seen 70.
But you're going to get something like this. It has a scale to adjust for different temperatures.
If you don't have that anymore, it's available online.
Go online, or you can pop in the numbers, hit the button, and it'll tell you the answer, which is nice. And there's a few different scales. We use specific gravity. That's the easiest. And it's usually measured 1.0 and then the numbers we care about. So 1.052 is 52. 1.011 is 11. And 52 might be your original gravity, 11 might be your finished gravity. A little bit of math, you subtract starting gravity from, or finished gravity from starting gravity, multiply by 0.129, and that'll give you a pretty rough idea of what your alcohol content is in the beer. But this one here has got.
I thought it was divided by that. But whatever. Yeah.
No, if you
There's
take
some math that tells you how to do
take
it.
52 minus 11 is 41 times 0.129, and that would give you your percentage. And I'm not going to do that in my head. I had it all written down so I could sound really cool, but there was different numbers and I don't remember what they were.
It's really a pretty simple concept. Take a sample in a tall, skinny vessel. So it's worth
Buying
a
tall,
tall, skinny vessel.
when you buy this, pick one up. I don't have one.
Oftentimes you get this with a beginner's kit, but you don't get the vessel to actually put your wort in. And but your local homebrew store will have one for $4 or $5.
Yeah.
And pick it up. It's like a graduated cylinder or something.
I got a big two beer glass in the other room, but this one will float in. This one won't. It's too big. But this one will float in it. This will float in an ale pail.
I've done it in an ale pail before. Because again, that's with my beginner kits. That's how I used to have to do it. Because I didn't have a.
But you can't throw it. It's tough. You don't want to be floating in your ale pail if you're checking to see if fermentation is done.
And there's better ways to do it.
There
are better ways to do it.
And this one's got a few different scales on it. This one probably has a couple also. I'm not going to try and read them on here. All my glasses. But bricks, Play-Doh.
There's bricks, Play-Doh, and original
balling,
gravity usually.
and balling. Bricks, Play-Doh, and balling are pretty much all the same thing. There's slight differences, but the scales on here are, and the fact that it's floating in your beer and moving around a little bit, you're not going to be that accurate. So
and is this one only for beer?
This is only for beer. Or I suppose you could do a table wine if it's a 9%. That's pretty straightforward. I know it may not sound that simple when we're talking about it. Go online, do a little research, talk to your homebrew people. They'll explain it to you.
Yeah.
We'll actually do a gravity reading today.
A very useful, very simple but very useful tool.
It is. I mean, if you want to know how much alcohol you got in your beer.
And who doesn't want to know that?
I mean,
right?
You're right. I mean, your friends are coming over and they're drinking all your homebrew. Well, if you got two different homebrews and one's at 3.2 and one's at 6, you're going to give them 3.2. Well, I don't know about you, but I am. I'm going to drink my good beer. What's the matter? You become crazy?
We need to add a little vitamin C to our beer.
Yeah. Now, we talked about this before, about how you can use vitamin C to take the chlorine and chloramides out of your water, and never yet managed to actually film putting some into there. You really only need, I don't know what,
Quarter
30, 30,
eighth
40
tab.
milligrams.
Quarter tab.
Yeah, this is a 500 milligram tablet. I don't think there's no such thing as too much vitamin C.
You can throw the whole thing in.
You could throw the whole thing in there. It's good for the yeast. It's good for you. It's good for the beer.
It's especially good for the beer if you're using your municipal water and you have something called chloramides in them.
Or chlorine. So just a little bit right in the water, and that's it. And I got enough here for another 4 or 5 batches, easily. Or you can just, take it. It's not going to hurt you any.
Don't hurt nothing if you use
Good for
it.
you. It's good for the beer. It's good for me. Naturally, why don't we kill the heat there, because we're going to be...
Time lapse. 2 years later, we can turn the heat off.
Yes. As you see, actually, we're using a big pot today. One full boil is going to be a lot easier on us. And we got 2 packages of 3 pounds. You got that?
Yep.
3 pounds of dark
Malt
DME.
extract.
And we're going to turn the heat up so we don't get a boil over, because I
Right.
can guarantee something 6 pounds of dry malt in there is going to boil over. Keep
In
a
my-
close eye on what happens to that crap when Scott dumps it in.
In my experience, I want to dump this in as fast as I can because any of that steam that hits this bag is just going to turn this into a gooey caramel candy mess that's not going to end up in my beer.
Well, we'll throw the whole bag in and rinse it out, but the less we have to do with that, the better.
Do you do that?
I will, but not right
Okay.
now. No, dump it out first,
Right.
and then we'll throw the bag in if we need to.
Alright, so where's your mash paddle?
I got a spoon. Does that work?
Works good for me. Set it right down there by your roller.
You want me to spin it?
Sure. Are you ready?
I'm
On
going.
your mark, get set.
Dump. Oh, you're going first. All right, so take that over for a close-up. Show them what a mess that is.
I don't know how to
Oh,
zoom
watch
it.
out, watch out. That is
Look.
like trying to boil over.
Yep. Starting to boil. The fire's off and it boiled up. Didn't boil over, but it boiled
Take it
up.
over there and show them a close-up of that mess there.
This is the mess that the steam just made in the bag. It's all,
Don't get your fingers out of there. I gotta go back in the beer.
I'm eating that.
I know what you're doing. Cut it out.
Cotton candy for a brewer.
You know, I'm gonna hit you with my burning mash paddle here.
Mmm.
Bring that over here.
Okay. So,
All right, we're
ready?
it's going down a little bit.
Round two?
Okay, I kind of want to let this go down a little farther yet. It's going down a
I
little
should have
bit.
called it. It should be.
It should be.
It's
But
not
that came
steaming
up.
near as much.
Well, it's gone down
It
about an
did
inch.
come up.
It came up about
It came
3
up.
inches.
Yeah, it
It's
came
gone
up.
down about 1. So if it comes up another 3 inches, we're gonna be right near the top. Of course, it should be cooler now. So go ahead. Let's
On your
go.
mark, get set,
Go.
go. Stir, stir.
I'm staying out of your way. All right.
Well, I ain't gonna burn you with this.
No, I just don't want to be getting away. And I am going to throw these in there.
All right.
And,
Oh, your baby. Tis beer.
well, it's
Throw
all
them
right.
in there.
Well, I want to rinse dissolve as much of that
I
DME
throw
out there.
my liquid malt extract. Yeah, I try to get as much of that malt extract, all that.
into the beer.
Into
And
the
it's
beer.
going to be boiling. It's going to be sanitized.
Yep.
It's going to be
It-
sterilized, actually, beyond sanitized. Yeah, there might be a little dust on the outside of the bag, but
Nothing.
that's just flavoring.
Nothing living is gonna end up in your beer. I guarantee.
We got most of it out of there.
Yeah.
And I think we got almost out of that. There's a little bit left in there, but I'm not going to be that.
See, every little bit of sugar you get out of that bag is
That's
gonna
quite a
make
bit.
your gravity a little bit higher. And that's what we're talking about, the specific gravity. we're talking
Your
about
original gravity, the
before.
more alcohol we got.
Right, so
the more sugar, the more alcohol.
The higher your original gravity is, the more the yeast have to chew on to ferment, and the higher the alcohol your beer is going to be.
And don't pretend like you don't want high alcohol beer, because I know you.
I want a high alcohol beer. I mean, it don't have to be crazy high.
I mean, when's the last time you went and ordered a Michelob Ultra, right?
Yeah.
If that's what you drink, you're watching the wrong webcast.
Well, Got Michelob Ultra in my keezer.
Yeah, but not because you're drinking it.
It's not for me.
Alright, now we're going to turn the heat back on this, and we are going to keep a close eye on this when it comes up to boiling, because once it gets up to boiling, it could still boil over again. So we're going to keep a close eye on it.
Yeah, it probably won't.
It probably
It's
won't, but it is a possibility at this point. Once it's been boiling again for a minute or two, then you're probably pretty safe. You know, it's not usually going to boil over after that point, but
There's no problem with taking your mash paddle, or whatever you got,
rinsing it off and setting it on the counter.
no matter what you put in here, this beer is going to boil. So you ain't really got to worry about contaminating your beer at this point.
Yeah,
So
we haven't
if it
even-
sits on the counter.
We haven't even
something
started our
like
60
that,
minute. Our 60 minutes hasn't started yet.
It's
It's got to come back up to boil heat.
So sanitation isn't. I mean, you want to be clean about it, but you don't have to worry about sanitation.
This is a U.S. Golding. Most Goldings are from England. You get, you know, East Kent Golding is from East Kent. Kent Golding is from Kent. And Golding is just from anywhere else in England. And they're all fairly similar. This is a U.S. Golding, so it's basically a Golding that was grown in the United States as opposed to England. Hopefully the flavor is going to be fairly similar. This is a 5.2 alpha acid, which that basically talks about how much bittering you're going to get. We're not going to talk too much about bittering tonight, but in future episodes we will talk about bittering and how to use those alpha acids percentages to determine how much bitter you're going to get.
5.2 is about middle of the road.
Yeah, it's a pretty middle of the road hops. It's a dual purpose hops. You can use it for both bittering and aroma. Some hops are better for bittering, some are better for aroma, and some are pretty good for both. And this one's pretty good for both. Alright, so we got 1 ounce of U.S. Golding. We're going in at 60 minutes here. There you go, stir that. There you go. And next hops should go in about 55 minutes, so we'll be at 9:45 for the next hops. If I remember, we'll throw some Irish moss in at 15. I remember last week. I may or may not remember this time. It worked out really good. So I'm gonna
never remember the
I'm
Irish
going to try
moss,
and remember.
but-
All right, we're a couple minutes late adding our Irish moss here. We ran over to Scott's house and picked up his Wort Chiller, so we're a couple minutes late. But that's all right. We're at about 10 here instead of 15. Better late than never. Unless you're my grandfather.
It'll be fine.
He'd rather skip school than be late, but he's dead, so.
Relax, have a homebrew.
There you go. In case you missed last week, Irish moss is a fining agent. It's going to cause all the trub, the hops, and the proteins and everything to settle out. Basically cause them to coagulate into big clumps and sink to the bottom.
Helps make your beer clear.
Clear, yes. We're at 5 minutes. We're going to add our aroma hops now. Actually, we're down to about 4 minutes because we were 2 bits in and we missed it.
Relax.
Oh, we got to get the Wort Chiller in here, don't we? How much time do you need the Wort Chiller in here for?
Well, I'll be in there for 15 minutes.
So we got like 4
But
left.
now, it all,
This is a Wort Chiller.
Be careful with a Wort Chiller. It will hurt you. I'm not kidding. I've been hurt. There's some water, even though I've scrubbed this out, turned it around, washed it around. When I put this into that boiling water, some kind of boiling water is going to come out of one of these hoses. It will burn you. So be aware of that, be careful. But get a Wort Chiller, it's a wonderful thing. It's,
Hold those ways.
you want to hold those?
Hold those ways, put that in the
Figure
water.
them out. Alright, are we done boiling?
No, we got
We got
3
to
minutes left.
sterilize
We got
this.
3 minutes left on the boil.
Right. So we want to put this in a few minutes before, normally I do it at 15 minutes.
We should have put it in sooner.
It will still be alright. But
Here comes
watch,
the boiling hot water
watch
right there.
out. There is going to be water coming out of here. Grab that bucket that I brought it over here in.
This is set up to hook up to a hose. We don't have an adapter for the kitchen sink, and my hose is sitting outside in 6 inches of snow and probably frozen solid. So unfortunately, we're going to have to carry this pot outside to hook this up to the spigot today. Next week, I'm going to thaw the hose out first. So I think we are probably we're at flame out here. We're going to take this outside and hook it up to the cold water and chill it down quickly. There. All right, so you can see where this is hooked on here to the hose. Comes through this hose into the Wort Chiller. Hot water comes out the other end. And it will be boiling hot water coming out the other end.
Yeah.
Alright, there's several different kinds of Wort Chillers. The main two kinds are the kind we were just using, where you've got the Wort Chiller, the cold water comes in, goes through the coil sits in the wort itself, and then it pulls the heat off. The hot water comes out the other side. The other kind is basically the reverse of that. You've got a coil that your hot wort goes in one side, the coils go through an ice bath, and out the other side comes your cool wort, and that would go right into your primary from there, hopefully at pitching temperature. With something like that though, you do need a pump, whereas with the style we're using, all you need is a hose connection. Just turn your hose on and the water runs. So we had the Wort Chiller going on about 15 minutes maybe, and down about 85 degrees, so that's plenty within pitching temperature.
Yeah.
And,
Good.
now we're just kind of going to really carefully dump this in there and try and leave the trub in the bottom. Sanitize the pail, use some Star San. And probably the ideal way to do this would be with a siphon and kind of rack it off and leave the crap to the bottom. But I didn't sanitize mine tonight, so we're just going
You
to
don't
pour.
have to.
So we're just going to pour.
When I do it this way, which I do, I like to pour it through a colander.
You definitely want to get some
Colander
air in
don't
there.
take much. Yeah, this is the one and only point that you want to put air into your beer. The yeast like air. Lots of foam, lots of bubbles. You're doing a wonderful job, Chris.
Of course I am.
Go ahead and pour. Pour back. You know,
I ain't going to pour back.
you can pour back and forth if you want to.
A little trub flowing out there.
You can pour it all in and pour it all back and pour it back again.
Oop, there's some of the bigger stuff. There's definitely
So-
some trub left in there. I didn't do a real good job. I got some trub in there, and I've definitely left some beer in the bottom.
It's all right.
Where are we at? About,
We want to look at, we're at 5 gallons here, right?
yeah,
So we're about 5 gallons.
we're about 5 gallons,
What
which is
about
where we were aiming for.
beer?
All right. So you can see we kind of got a little bit of a hole in the middle here, so we should be able to do a gravity reading. Now, in theory, you kind of drop it in and spin it, get the bubbles off of it, and it almost never works. But if we can somehow keep it out of the bubbles,
I
That's
got it
good.
real close, so
That's good. Keep it out of the bubbles. Kind of get it so that the scale you want is facing you, which is really the tough part. And then you gotta wait for it to stop bobbing up and down. We're looking at about 52, so 1.052. I don't know if you can get close and see those numbers on camera. That'd be really great.
It's pretty cool.
It's about 85 degrees.
It feels cooler than that to me. So
Well, it was 85 degrees when I measured it outside. Actually, it may be cooler than that now. Shouldn't be too much cooler. Let's see.
are you looking at the 50?
Yeah, right. It should be. There's a line right below the 50, and then I think we're at one notch below that. So yeah, actually, I think this has cooled down a little more even since then. So I think we're pretty close to. We're actually a touch below 70.
it felt
So, and
cooler
this is-
than
So this hygrometer is calibrated at 70. So I'm going to say it's a pretty accurate reading.
call it 70.
Well, no, I'm going to say the reading is accurate. We don't have to do any mathematics on this. We're right at 1.052. So that's our original gravity. We're going to write that down, and then when we're ready to bottle, we'll take another gravity reading at that point, and then we'll do the math and figure out how much alcohol we got. All right.
All right, so what did you decide to use?
We decided to use the Windsor yeast today.
Okay.
This actually, I looked it up online.
Can't see it.
The big difference between the Windsor and the Nottingham, they're both an English ale yeast. The big difference is with the Windsor, it has a slightly fruity flavor to it, whereas the Nottingham doesn't. The Nottingham also says that it will ferment out a little higher, a little more fully than this at a higher alcohol, so we're not concerned about this. I don't expect this to be a big alcohol beer, but I think we're looking for some fruity esters. All right, we're going to kind of sprinkle this on top, get a close-up of this here. Can you see the top of the ale pail? Okay, well, say yes. All right.
Sprinkle it on there. You could.
That's good. We were going to hydrate this yeast, and we forgot to. So we'll hydrate another yeast some other time.
Here at Dunkirk Homebrew, we offer a wide selection. Our malt extracts are Breese liquid, Muntins liquids, Breese dry malt extracts, Brewer's Best beer ingredient kits, and we carry a full line of grains from Avantgarde, German malt, Dingemans, Muntins, Breese, a full line of specialty grains, special beef, flaked rice, white wheat, you name it, we've got it. And we will crush it for you, no charge.
Oh, that's a twist off. Was it? No. The first one I tried to twist off actually was a twist off. I was like, I should try these, you know. That's a darker beer. I think this
All right.
might have been.
Is this episode 3?
Take another slug out of there. Yeah. Get the foam out. This might have been like a Irish red or a Scottish red or something like that.
Okay.
This was that other kit, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Boy, this is flatter than a pancake. It definitely made a noise when we opened it.
Yeah. Whoops.
And it's definitely one of the bottles that would seal well. All right. I'll go first because you really hammered it harder than I did.
Yep.
Okay. This is our episode 3 beer, and let's be honest, we were not impressed with this beer. Aroma, the most generous score I gave it, had a slightly malty smell to it, and I gave it a 10 out of 12. I didn't think it smelled awful. The appearance, the color was good, the clarity was good, but it had very, very poor head retention, almost non-existent. I did give it a 2 out of 3 there. Flavor, it was definitely on the malty side. No noticeable hops, poorly balanced, and aftertaste
I wrote down bad, but it was not pleasant, I guess would be the way to, a better way to say it. Not a very pleasant aftertaste. Gave it a 4 out of 20 there. Mouthfeel, 0 out of 5. No body, poor carbonation, warmth, creaminess, palate sensation, they're just not there. And overall impression, I did give it a 2 out of 10, simply because it's not the worst beer I've ever drank. It was far from the best, but I've had worse, so I did give it 2 points. Grand total of 18. I really do not like this beer. So.
Chris is nicer than I am.
He hated this beer.
I was not impressed at all. For aroma, I'm not sure. Yeah, my comments were funky and weird, and it's not like spoiled or moldy or like funky weird in that kind of a way, but it just doesn't really smell like beer should, or like I said, it don't smell spoiled like food poisoning type of way, but there's something wrong with it. It's funky and weird. So I gave it a 3 out of 12. For appearance, it's flat. Color is fine, and I have nothing wrong with that. I've drank a beer that color before. That's not the problem. Poor head, obviously, because it's flat. It's hard to, I gave it a 1 out of 3 for appearance. And the color's okay. I guess it looks kind of like beer. Flavor, I don't like it. I don't know what's wrong with it or what's going on with it, but I give it a 0 out of 10 or out of 20. I don't like it. I wouldn't drink it. I mean, I'd have to be pretty drunk and desperate before I did drink it. Mouthfeel, again, I didn't like the beer. It's just another 0. Overall impression, 0. So it's got a grand total of 4 points out of 50 for me. Hopefully we'll try it again in a week or two and see what's up. But otherwise, it's one that unfortunately I would probably end up dumping. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to revisit the recipe and see what's up, or maybe, like I said, that came out of a twist-off bottle. Maybe something was up with that.
It's possible that it was the bottle didn't seal, and
Yeah,
that could,
flat,
been sitting for a few weeks.
Right.
That's a possibility.
If you had a party a couple weeks ago and you found some beer tucked away behind the speaker or something and you took a drink of it, I wouldn't expect that to be very good either. But again, it's not that it's...
And it was really, I can't,
It's not like it's moldy or, like a...
Yeah.
I don't think it's a...
There was nothing in the recipe
Right.
itself that was,
right.
not, should have caused it to taste that unpalatable.
I don't think it tastes spoiled or anything like
Right.
that.
Which is my other, because if it was something to do with the ferment, you would expect it to have more flavor, more off flavors. But that's a possibility. We'll see. We'll try another one next week and see where
we're at.
we're at. If it's just as bad, we'll assume that it was a bad ferment.
Yeah, maybe it'd be a 5 out of 50.
It might be a 3.
True enough. This is episode 3.
This is episode 3. Oh, and that fizzed. Yay, fizz. This is the one that was really flat the first time we tasted it.
Doesn't look flat.
No, it was the bottle. It was a bad bottle,
Didn't get capped
and
off.
we hammered it. Scott hammered it really bad. I think he gave it a 3.
Yeah, I think I didn't like it at all.
It's much better this time around.
Here, no, bring that over here. I've only got a little.
Well, it's just kind of grabby. There's more of these. We can. If anybody doesn't get enough, I can always open another one. I brought extras of all of these tonight.
Okay. So this is a English.
It's more of a stout.
No, I'm not a big stout.
More of a stout. It
Yeah,
came out as
dark.
being a Northern English brown, but
Not as opposed to a Southern English brown?
Is this supposed to be like a brown ale? Or?
yeah, Northern English brown ale.
Well, I like brown ales, but it's
Yeah.
awfully dark. Okay. Well, the color is good.
Not really. Must be my
So the
sinuses
color is out of
stuffy.
3.
Must Yeah, it must be
I don't smell it
tonight.
either too much.
Oh, I can, there's a little, this is better than the other.
It smells like beer.
That's yummy.
It's gonna be funny to people that watch this because they're gonna be like, we're all like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever. Oh, this is awful. Actually, we shouldn't even taste it anymore. And then we're like, oh, this is good.
This would be a fun one to take to the club because I think you
This
might
is
get.
really good. It's got a good flavor. It's almost got like a vanilla flavor.
I can't tell if it's clear or not, though.
It is.
This is 100 times better than it was last time
It's
I tried
clear.
it. Well, yeah, you can see a little bit through it.
It is. It's,
Oh, there we go.
Those lights shining.
and if you
pretty
hold
good.
it,
You can-
hold it to
right.
the side like that, you can see.
Yeah.
It's really clear. It's
Yeah,
good.
it's clear.
Okay.
That's good.
Much better than last time.
A lot.
When you bottle your beer, make sure you have this big lip on there. If it's got a really small lip, you need the old-fashioned bottle cappers with a hammer, because otherwise you're not going to get a good seal, and your beer's going to taste awful.
Is that what it is? You have some bottles you have to.
Yeah, I've been trying. I think that's what it was. There were those.
Have you found more that way?
Those Michelob bottles. I'm not going to make a lot of comments because you guys are faster than me.
Take your time. I don't care.
Well, I got to get that thing off and on. And
Okay.
You go first.
I'm gonna go first. All right. I give it an overall score. I'm at 39 out of 50. For the aroma, it doesn't have much aroma. I couldn't really smell much of anything, and there's something didn't smell anything bad, but it just didn't smell anything. So I only gave it an 8 out of 12 there. Appearance, I gave it a 3 out of 3. If I made up these rules, I would have probably put more points in that category because it's hard to do 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3. I mean, how bad would it have to be? You know,
The way I look at it is if it misses
There's
on one of
nothing
those
wrong
three.
there, but none of these could have a little more head or something, but not enough
Yeah.
to doctor.
I think if my opinion, if they miss, there's 3 things in that category. If you miss one of them, you lose a point.
All right, I guess that's maybe I'll have to start doing it because probably all these beers should have lost 1 point before the head retention and no lacing or anything. But I don't know. You don't taste that anyway. So, anyways, 3 out of 3 there. Flavor, I give it a 16 out of 20. I think it tastes pretty good. There is whatever that flavor that I hated last time and couldn't stand. There's still a touch of that in there, but it's mellowed a lot or blended in there. It's totally changed. It's so it's much better beer than it was a month ago. Yeah, that's the case. Mouthfeel, much better than before. Bad taste almost gone. Yay, I said. So I give it a 4 out of 5. The body was good. Carbonation is okay. Warmth is not too warm, not too cold. It's fine. Creaminess is awesome. It's a pretty good beer. It's a good beer. 8 out of 10 for overall impression.
Great. All right, so aroma, I gave it a 9 out of 12. Again, it's a little light on the aroma, but it is well balanced. Appearance, I gave it a 3. Good color, clarity, head retention, I think all that's fine. Flavor, I gave it a 14. It's a little sweet. You could use a little more hops, I think, to tame the sweetness down. Good finish. There is a slightly estery aftertaste, but it's not unpalatable. It's just noticeable. Mouthfeel, I gave it a 4 out of 5. And probably because I think it's I'm going to make that a 5 out of 5. It's fine. Nothing wrong there. Overall impression, I gave it a 8 out of 10. Again, kind of because of the little estery after flavor, but generally speaking, pretty good beer. I gave it a 39, which means I tied with Scott. I was better before. Your turn.
I really liked it. I gave it a 49 out of 50.
Wow.
11 out of 12. For aroma, I had kind of a yeasty smell to it. 3 out of 3 for appearance. Looked good. Had a beautiful head when it was poured. Clarity is good. Color's good. 20 out of 20 for flavor. I love the vanilla aftertaste. It reminds me of a Hefeweizen. If I inhaled after I drank it, I could definitely taste it. 5 out of 5 for mouthfeel. The carbonation is good. It's smooth. Overall impression was a 10 out of 10. So this is a beer of the type that I would like.
Well, you can drink Mr. Schaefer's special reserve then.
Yeah.